Hi everyone, welcome to another session about Azure. So in this session we'll be going over the ADLS, which is kind of a storage layer provided by Azure. So most of the things will be practical, so let me quickly jump over my Azure portal and then you can just go through how you can create the account and everything. So all you have to do, go and type in ADLS in the Azure portal. So once I do that right, the first option you get storage accounts, you have to click over here. So once you go over here, you can find the list of storage accounts what you already have. So if you don't have anything, this is the first time you're creating something, then right, you can press the create option and it will give an option for you to create a storage account. So we'll try to create a storage account from the scratch here for the demo purpose. So all it is asks you to give a select a subscription. So I already have a default subscription. If you want to create a different one, you can create for yourself, but I'll go with the default subscription. Resource group, right? So if you have a resource group, then you can select that. If you want, you can also create a new resource group from this option, right? So if you want, you can create a new resource group, but I'll go with the default dev resource group. So now the important thing, you have to give a name of the storage account. In my case, I will give the name something like dev csv files storage. So it does some validations and it selects that one. Okay, so from here you have an option to select which region you want the storage account to be in. So you can select the region which as per the business requirements, right? So in my case I would go with US plus 2. That is okay. So primarily in this next, right, per primary service, right, here you can select if you want the storage account of normal storage account or storage layer gen 2. This will provide you a flexibility to have ACLs, account level restrictions. So I'll go with the storage level gen 2. So here you can select performance based on, like, standard or the premium one. Premium one usually is recommended for production purposes, but now we are doing here for demo purpose, so we'll go with the standard. Next important thing, redundancy. So here basically redundancy, here, right, what it means, right, so basically it's local redundant. This means, right, this will be stored, the data will be stored in only in the particular server stack. But if you go with geo redundant, zone redundant, or geo zone redundant, right, this will be stored in multiple regions and multiple geolocations. We can go deeper into this into another session, but just to give a high level. So geo local redundant is the most cost effective one, but the more you move further, like geo redundant, GZRS, this will be more expensive and usually used for productions. So I'm fine with the locally redundant, so I'll just go and click review and create. So it will take a few minutes to get to do the validations, and it has passed all the validations, so we can create on create button. So it will take a few minutes to get this deployed, so we have to wait for a few couple of minutes, I believe. Usually it's quite quick, so but let's see. So the deployment is still in progress. Right, so now the storage account creation is completed. So let me quickly go to that resource now. Right, so once the storage account is completed, right, you do get a list of you do get this portal where it kind of displays everything related to this storage account. So you find name, the resource group, location, what you have selected, subscription this belongs to, and then, right, the kind of replication you have selected, right, and then you can also enable hierarchical namespaces here, and then soft delete and content delete, right? So basically what it does, right, it like even if you delete the storage account or the files, right, you can just try to get those back once you have this enabled. That's what this delete does. We'll try to go a bit deeper into all these things, right? So let me yeah, so we have kind of covered this one. We'll try to go into the important sections here, which are mainly used in production or during the working environment. So yeah, So you can tag the resources. So for example, in my case, right, you can I can put a tag like, for example, environment, and I can tag this as dev. So this will be a dev storage account, and I can apply. So this will get saved. So applying tags is a good practice, so that you can kind of filter your resources based on the tags, right? It will also help you to pull some cost reports. Um, Coming to diagnose and solve, right? In this section, you'll be able to kind of, if you're facing any issue with your storage account, right? For example, some authentication issues, some connectivity issues, right? You can just go here and try to diagnose what is the issue, and then right, Microsoft will be trying to kind of give you a kind of an resolution here, automated resolution. But right, we don't want to get into that. Um, So access, right? So for example, right here you can give access to some different resources, right? To access to access your storage account. You can also allocate access to different people from your organization to give to give them the access here. Okay. So all you have to do is click role assignment. Like for example, if you want to give a reader access to someone, you just click on reader. Next. And from here you'll be able to select a manager entity is something, right, which is created by which is created by Microsoft for some of the resources services. Like for example, I do have different manager entities here related to AI hub, right? Or if I want, like, I do have a manager entity for SQL server as well, so I can give an access to SQL server. If I select here, right, my SQL server will get access here. My SQL server will be able to access this resource. Okay. Review and assign. So it is providing access to my SQL server now. Okay. But if, for example, in your case, if you want to give access to certain user, then you'll have to go here, select reader or contributor. Yeah, blob account contributor, right? So I can select this one. Storage account contributor, I can select this. Go to next. From here, I can select the user, right? Whomever I can give access. So I do get different users here. Okay. So I'll select one of those ones, and then I can just click on select, and then I can give access to them. Okay, this is how it will work. But right now I'm fine. I don't want to give access to more users here, so I'll go click back to the portal. So we have covered this one. Yeah. So here, right here, it's like how you can access the storage account. So we'll go deeper into this into one of the other sessions. But coming to the main important aspect, right? This is the main important like kind of element from this storage account, which you'll be closely working on. Okay, so containers. So like almost like in 90% of the cases, you'll be working with the containers when you talk about the Azure storage accounts. So based on the business requirement, project requirements, right? You'll be getting different containers and then subfolders between in those containers. Like how you create a container is just you just click on container here. You just give a name of the container. For example, right? I can name it as dev. I can name it as dev folder. Let's see if I can create this one. Right, so this is created, right? So further, if you want to break this down for into multiple folders, you can do that. But in my case, right, I just don't want to break it down into any further folder structure. What I want to do, I just want to place some files over here. So I'll select here. I've got some test data, test files here. You can just copy paste, select these files and then upload into this container. Once you click on upload, right, this will be uploaded into this container. So in a production environment, right, you'll be having multiple CSV, JSON files, based on what our business use case. So that is what these containers do. So you can add in more files if needed. So that is what pretty much container is, right? So this is the one of the most important, feature which you'll be working on mostly. Next important one is file share. So basically, if file share is something, right, you can create a file share here, and then you can mount this onto the like kind of an business laptop or different desktop machines, right? So basically, whatever files the user is storing there, on that file share which is present on their local, right, it will be available. These files will be available here. So if I just create a file share called test file share, you can select whatever you need, right? Transaction optimize, hot, cold storage, right? I'll go with transaction optimized here. So I can just review and create. So basically now it will create a file share which can be, which you can deploy on local, or onto different laptops and machines. And this way, whatever files the user is kind of uploading there, we'll see in the we can see those in the ADLS. So right, if you want to deploy on a if you like, for example, when I click on connect, then I get the code, I get the script, right? How I can deploy this one onto my local, and whatever files I save on my local, I can see those into my Azure portal. So I'll not go much deep into that, but this should give you an overview what this is all about. So file shares, queues and tables, usually they're not much frequently used, so we can quickly skip on that one. Coming to networking, right? So this is, I think this is another important element what you'll be frequently working on. So networking, right? So at the moment, it is enabled for all networks, but you can also kind of restrict it to selected virtual networks or to your particular IP address. So for example, if you have a virtual network, right, in your organization, you can restrict it to your virtual network, so the people in your virtual network can only access this storage account, right? Or I can also restrict it to my IP address only, right? When I click here, then no one else apart from this IP will be able to access this. But at the moment, that is fine because this is just test environment. So I'll go with the storage with the enable for all networks. Um, is there anything else you want to discuss here? Yeah, I think we have covered all the most important ones here. So coming to the access keys, sorry. So if you want to connect, like, so these are the keys, right? So anytime you want to connect to some other external through some API or some code, right? And if you need the access keys, you can find those over here. But usually we don't directly put in the access keys into any of the code, or so the best way is to use keyword vault and all those things. We can go into that into some of the session, but this should just give you an overview, right, where you can find the access keys. Next comes the shared access signature. So this is like kind of pretty useful feature where you can restrict where you can give time bound access to particular person, right? So basically it will generate a URL which will give them a time bound access, and you can also filter it. You can also narrow it down to a container level or to an object level. For example, if I want to give an access to my container, right, to someone, and I just want to read access to them but not write access, I just don't want them to, I don't want to give them delete access also, so I can uncheck that one. So this is like, so I can select here, and then I can select the timeline from which time to which time I want to give them the access to. So for example, I want to give them access from 4:15 till 4:16, 24 hours of access. And once I do this, right, all I have to do is generate a SAS token, and it will be generating a SAS and connection string. So that is like, so I think it's some issue here because of my screen share, but once you click here, you'll be getting the connection string, which you can share with and then the person will be getting the appropriate access for a certain amount of time. Next important thing I think is encryption one. So currently it is disabled because when we created the storage account, we did not check and enable. But if you want encryption to be enabled on your storage account, you can select, you can do it there at the time of account creation. application, you can do that. So that is one feature Azure provides. So next, coming to storage account, this is not much use. Redundancy, right? So basically, right, so here, right, like I think we initially talked about locally redundant storage, geo redundant storage, and all those things, right? So this is where you can kind of, you know, try to set that up. For example, mine is locally redundant storage, so it's not giving me much options. But you know, if you select geo redundant or you know ZRS or GZRS, right, you can find more options here to select primary and secondary. But at the moment, it doesn't give much options to me because I'm on locally redundant storage. Okay, so data protection, right? So I think this is what we kind of briefly touched about when we created the account. Enable soft delete. So basically, as you can see here, soft delete enables you to recover blobs that were previously marked for deletion, including blobs that were overwritten. So right, if you have this option, right, you can delete the, you can try to delete, try to get back the deleted blobs or containers. So right, it's better to have this enabled as a best practice. Right, so we have covered pretty much everything. Right, so one important thing I want to show you the endpoints. So these are some of the endpoints, right, which you might need based on whatever service you're using. For example, for Blob Storage, right, you would be needing these endpoints, right, to connect to other external applications and all those things, right. So this is where you can kind of get endpoints. Locks, right? So this is another important feature what I find useful. So like for example, right, you can lock your storage account so that you know some other users, right, whom you're giving access, they don't delete those ones, right, accidentally. So you can set up a lock on your resources. Like for example, I can set up a Dell lock, right, and the lock type is delete. And basically what it does, you know, this protects my container from accidental deletion, files from my container from accidental deletion by the users, right. So you can kind of set that up. Next is pretty much monitoring and monitoring insights and all those things, right. So here this is where you can kind of see, you know, how, like, you know, how what is the usage and different metrics here. So here it shows me the transaction by storage type, API names, and used capacity, right, availability, all these things. You can just see, you know, how this is performing actually. So right, you can see the graphs here, different graphs coming up. Alerts, you can set up and configure alerts here. So for example, in my case, right, so right, you can select all the base, you can select all the signals from on which, based on which you can create alerts. So in my case, for example, right, I can create alert based on use capacity, for example. You have to click on apply now. So greater than, for example, some some 10 GB, for example, right, and then I can create review and create. So there'll be costs associated to when you create these alerts. So let me see what is the issue here. Details are missing. Okay, I have to give a name to this alert. So uh, capacity alert. Okay, so you have to do a review and create. So basically what it does, you know, whenever the capacity exceeds that amount, like for example 10 GB, 5 GB, or you know 100 GB, whatever you said, it sends an alert to you. And also while creating the alert, I think we just kind of missed that one, but while creating the alert, you can also send it to particular user group or to yourself or to your particular email alias, right? You can do all those things. So this is where, like, you can kind of monitor the availability, ingress, egress, and all those metrics, right? What how the storage account is performing, right? This will give you an overview. You can select it down, filter it down to different storage account or to block containers, right? You can select most of those things and then, you know, see how the things are performing. Right, so diagnostic settings right here, this is from where you can configure the logging and everything, right? So we'll not go into that in this session, but I think because we have covered almost everything here, almost of the things, right, at a higher level. But you know, if there is interest, right, you can drop a comment. I'll try to go more deeper into any of those aspects what you want me to cover further. So yeah, that's pretty much. Thank you for your time. Take care. Have a nice day.